Hi and welcome to part 3 of my series about how I stitch a heaven and earth design creation. Today I'm gonna go through how I stitch it, how I track my stitching, what kind of I use for my patterns and such. To begin with, this is my fabric, which I already gridded. If you want to see how I grid it, I should have an annotation up here somewhere, a little eye, which takes you to the playlist, and the video number 2 is the video where I gridded this. So yes, I am going to show you how I stitch, how I plan, what I use for it. We're gonna start with, when I stitch, I use my iPad. So let's take my iPad, let's see if it will turn around. I use a program called Goodreader and I just completely love it. It's the best PDF reader. I use iPad, and I don't know if Goodreader comes to Android, but yeah, I really love my Goodreader, and mostly because it can handle the extent of annotation that I do on my patterns. But I thought I'm gonna show you. I have split down the pattern I got. I put it into Acrobat Reader, and in Acrobat Reader, you can actually split up your chart into small parts, and I split mine to pages. So this is the first page of the pattern. I'm just showing you this part. You probably won't have any use of this part if you wouldn't have the other part of it, and then I can go around showing you how I cross stitch. First of all, I want to show you that there is 80 stitches wide, and it's 90 plus something stitches high, this specific page. And the reason why I want to show you this is because I am going to put that onto my fabric. Now I don't need these middle markers anymore, so I'm gonna remove those. This fabric is, as this grid is 200 by 200. It doesn't really matter how I position my fabric, but if it had been a rectangular shape, I would have made sure that it was in the right direction. Then I'm gonna count to 8. Don't count the first strip, but that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 and 80. So this is the 80 mark on my pattern. Then I'm gonna go down and actually gonna count down to the 100, as it was 90 plus something. So 1, 2, or 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 and 100. And now I have, with my pins, marked out the page. So this is how wide the page is. Next step is to put this into my frame. I use the different kind of this is a Q-snap. I also have some R&R frames and such, but I do love my Q-snap the most. So that is one I use the most. Then I'm gonna just position this onto my Q-snap. This is how I do it. Different people do it differently. I try to position this so that it is somehow in the middle, and then I add my Q-snaps, just click them on. I have this little piece of felt underneath. This helps me with two things. One of the things is that these clamps doesn't press on my cross stitches, because I will move this frame, so it will go, my cross stitches will be over these frame parts. But if I use a piece of felt, it won't hurt my stitches. And also it helps my Q-snap to snap on a little bit harder. So then I have a good tension when I stitch. Then I'm just going to snap on the other two to get it all framed and nice. So that is how I put it on. But as you see, there are some fabric, and the bigger, I actually use this 8x8 frame even for my really big projects. And then you will have a whole bunch of fabric like this around. I'm gonna move my needle. And therefore I use a Q-snap cover, a grime guard. They're called different things. It's basically just a little bit wider piece of fabric. Mine is double-sided, so I can either have it grey or I can have it with skin. I have sewn it myself. There are a lot of tutorials on how to do them single-sided. I don't know, I haven't seen one of doing them double-sided. It was just an idea I had, and it turned out great. Then I just fold my fabric in. I kind of roll my fabric in on both of the edges, and then I bunch it up and I put my grime guard around the fabric. This will keep the fabric away from my stitching, and also it will keep the fabric clean, as it will be hidden and carried by my little grime guard. So that is the that kind of preparation. I also use something called a needle minder. A needle minder have a magnet on the back side. And then it has a extra magnet, and then I just put that magnet underneath like this, and that will hold my needle. And you can hold the needle either on the front side or the back side. You can just put your needle on the magnet, and there you will know where your needle is. So I like needle minders, and you can get needle minders from everywhere, and you can actually make them yourself. One tip I have: find the neodymium magnets, because they are a little bit better of holding together the needle, and also they are this shiny material, so they won't stain your fabric. Yes. So into when I start stitching and how I track my stitches, because I do this, I like being organized when I do my cross stitching. So I have this little book, and I bought a new book for this project because I want to have a separate book for each project. But when I finish this project, I will use this for another one, so I won't throw away all these papers. But what I do when I track my stitches is I start at the top. I write first of all which project I'm working on. This is the ornament the enchanted Christmas snowman. Enchanted Christmas snowman. Then I know that that is the project for this book, so I just have to open it up. I'm thinking about adding it onto the front. These are kind of plain fronts, so you can do anything with the front. So I'm thinking about doing something with that. Also, I write which page it is, and then I usually add the date that I started the project. Then we have the I list all the threads. I work by page per color. And I'm gonna zoom in here. Oops. Like this. I'm gonna zoom in because I'm gonna start in this little corner, because I want to start at the edge. I'm gonna start up here and then go outwards. So what I do is I take the symbol, and I'm gonna take a symbol that have a little bit more stitches, because then I have something to anchor my stitches on later. So I actually think I'm gonna start with that symbol, which is a fence maybe. And what I do is I add the symbol in the edge of my paper, because then I know which symbol I've been working with. usually make a list of different symbols for different colors to kind of just start off that these are the ones I want to try. This is circular. Usually I start up in the upper left corner and then just choose the colors so it kind of fans out. But as this starts in the lower corner, I'm gonna go from the lower corner and gonna try to fan it out that way. And then I just color in the symbols. I'm not gonna color in all of the symbols. I usually try to make almost fill a page if that is possible from the page. Then I take this list, which have the symbol names and the color names, and I look them up. Like this little symbol here, I go through, and this were actually on the first page, yay! And it says that it is black 310. So then I just add 310 here. Then I go on to the next color, which is the symbol of an M. And you can see here that that is 3371. Let's see, I'm gonna see if I have, yes, 3371. And then I just go through and add the colors. When I finish a color, I will write done and I will write the date. And that is my way of tracking. But I'm doing it several other things, and I'm going to show you more because I've started to do this because I'm very curious. How many stitches do I do an hour and such? So then I have this little paper pad, just a simple squared paper pad. This is smaller and it's easier to have by my side. And I write the color symbol just as in my book. I write the number of the color just in my book, and then when I stitch I will mark off on this pattern. There is a highlighting so there's a highlighting tool, which is this one. I think you saw this. It looks like that, and I had that on that list, and then I can choose a color. And I think I'm gonna choose a blue color because this is a winter project. And then every time I finish a line, because I'm gonna show you how I cross stitch, I just mark that line like this. I can erase this afterwards. And when I mark them, I count them and I line that onto my paper over there so that I know how many stitches I've done. But I'm gonna show you how I stitch. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here so you can see this. They are gonna be very, very small. I can't zoom in more than I have done here. And then I'm starting with black 310. I'm gonna pick up my 310 here. I have kitty ears everywhere, so I'm sorry about that. And then I am going to take my thread. This thread is one I would use as I start with a loop thread, and this is a shorter length. I'm going to leave that and use that up later, but instead I'm just taking a length. How long your thread is up to you. I measure my thread by the length of an A4 because I always have in the back of my pad that I track my tracking, I always have these folded up, so I always can go back and see which symbol is what color. And when I then gonna cut out my thread, I actually just take my thread over the height of the A4 and count to 3. So I have about 3 sizes of an A4 in my lengths, and that is for all projects I do. It's a very good length when you double it over. It's a little bit too long when you use it single threaded. So I would have used a shorter length if I just used one thread. But yeah, then I just gonna add my thread to my needle. I use a size 26 needle. I get my needles in huge bulks from a fabric in China, and because I get my needles there from, I also sell them. So if you're interested in trying my needles, I have my Etsy store in the description down below. I looked for a lot of needles. I was a little bit hesitated to buy the bowline needles because I have a tendency to tarnish needles, and I don't want to pay huge amount of money for needles that I will tarnish in a couple of days anyway. So when I found this store that have really great needles, or this fabric that have really great needles, I started there. So, first of all, I'm not gonna start in the wrong place. This was 100 down with that needle is. We are going to look at the pattern again. We count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is the 8th row. So I'm gonna start on the 8th row. And I also know that that means there is 2, 4, 6, 8. So it's two threads above the 100th line. And as you see, I do my crosses over 1 thread. So it's teeny tiny, they're about 1 millimeter high. And then, as I have a loop in my thread, I can just put my needle through that, this, and my needle is set. Now it's set to the fabric. Now, I am a cross-country stitcher, it's called, and when I stitch, I go do my cross stitches from the lower left to the upper right. You can do them the other way around. One of my tips is always do your cross stitches in the same direction on your whole piece, because that will help the sun shade the light. When the light falls on your stitches, it will shade differently if the stitches are differently. So therefore, to get a more cohesive piece, I say that I recommend that you do all your stitches in the right, in the same direction. The pattern said it was 8 of these, so when I've gotten to the last of the 8th, I'm starting to go back. I love working one color at a time because it's like you have a little finish all the time. But other people can work in columns. There is something called parking that you can do. Sorry, I have a little bit of kitty hair on my thread. I have 2 very long haired kitties. You can do parking. There's a lot of different tricks. I just do cross country one color at a time. I can't do parking due to I don't have a fast place to sit, and I also like having my stitch in my knee when I stitch. So yeah. So here I have finished the first 8 stitches of this project. I'm not gonna sit here and stitch the whole project because I'm gonna put myself into my sofa and continue stitching on this today. But when I've stitched my 8 stitches, this is where I'm gonna show you. Then I go into the pattern, zoom out a little bit. I go to the highlighting, and then I highlight my 8 stitches and I save that. After I highlighted the 8 stitches, I go into my little pad here, and I am going to mark off 8 stitches like that. And this is how I do it. I go back and forth between my pattern and my pad, and every time I have stitched something that I'm going to mark, I count the stitches as I mark them and add them to my pad. and that is how I track my stitches. When I have completed all of one symbol for a full page, I will go into my little book here. See if my camera stops messing with me. I go into my little book here and I will write down that the color's done and the date, and then I just proceed working with 3371, and with that I would then calculate how many, just count how many of these I have and see how many stitches I have done. I can check the time and such, and that is the way I work with mine, and I keep my fabric as on my bobbins. And I think that was all for today. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later. If you have any questions, just comment down below. Down below you have all of my links and stuff. And if you like this video, please thumbs it up. It means a lot to me. If you want to see more videos like this, just hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you later. Bye!